So today we're going to be looking at Sizzapp, a tracker that works both for your bike, your car, and any vehicle you could really think about. We're going to be looking at the install for both vehicles, the tips and sort of tricks I've been using for the last 4 months, and also the features over other trackers as well. So let's get into it. So let's take a look in the box then. As you can see by the packaging, it's quite a motorcycle oriented product, but I actually really sort of prominently wanted it for Boris, and I thought it'd be great for the Bonneville as well. We've got a bit of a seal there, so let's get that open. So there's a connection guide, nice and easy for the product, and there is the unit itself. There was an extra piece that went around it, but it did tell you the code for the IMEI on it. So now we've got it out of the box and we've got the instructions there. We're going to take a look at the installation on Boris first, and also some tips and tricks after using it for a few months on positioning, placement, and a few tips for safety as well. We'll come back to look at the features and the benefits of using it that I've experienced over the last 4 months, and then we'll come back to the Bonneville and install it on there as well. So I actually did do a sort of temporary install a little while ago, just for our Scotland trip, and I've had it in ever since. I'd say that's been in for a few months now. All I did was just plug it into the battery and place it down the side. I know it's not the best place for thieves if it did get taken away, but I did want to use the tracking aspect and get to grips with the app and sort of the usage of it and see how good the signal was down in here. And I have to say it's been working really well. So what I'm going to do is actually extend the power out and go into the back of the vehicle. I'm just going to take a positive feed from the battery up to the tracker and then actually ground it locally in an area using a bolt or a screw in that area, and hopefully this will just limit weight of sort of disconnecting it. So that's what I'm going to do now, take it out and extend it up into the vehicle. Most people, when they see inside the battery box, have a little heart attack of how neat it is in my car, but it works, and I do need to neaten it out, so I won't show you too deeply into it right now. There you go, there's the unit. I'm sure now we'll get a notification on the phone and a text and a call if you want that it's been disconnected. Right, so I've got a piece of cable, and all I need really is a positive from it, so I'm just going to splice these off. Just to get the correct draw, I thought I might as well just use both. So you've got the positive and the negative there. Do the same on this side, cut the positive off. This is just a recommendation, by the way. So it's not something that Sizzapp asks you to do or recommend you do, but I just think it's a good idea for safety. So all I've done here is join the Sizzapp up to the new cable, run a piece of heat shrink on to protect it. Got my soldering iron here, hopefully it's hot enough. I've got my solder, easy peasy connection, just going to warm it up a little bit. Use this solder there, definitely hot enough, there you go. It's just a nice secure connection to have. You can use sort of plastic metal crimps or whatever type you need, but it'd be nice to do a proper connection here rather than just a twist and tape. So now once you're done, you've got your standard wiring all the way to about there, and you've got your negative there, which you can ground locally to wherever you're mounting that, which is what I'm going to do. And then you've got the sort of cable all the way down to the battery for the positive. And it just separates it a little bit. I mean, you haven't got two cables running up. I know it doesn't mean all that much to do that, but I just feel like it might be safer and also a good idea. Means there's less to go wrong. So now what I'm doing, I've run the cable for the positive down to the box, grounded it where I said I was going to do. It's now in a place where it's harder to find and probably got a better GPS signal anyway. Slightly higher up in the car, and that means if there's any movement, it's accentuated up there. It means if it's even touched, it'll send you an alert. So now I'm just going to do up the positive, check the app and make sure it's all back connected again. Right then, so I thought I'd just go over the features and comparing it to other trackers that I've used in the past, and also sort of any hints and tips into the sort of use of it for the last few months. Sizzapp is a one-off cost. You've got different varying units. Some are OBD, some are smaller, some are bigger, so do take a look on their website, and the cost you see there is the cost you get, which is really nice. You don't have incurring things over and over. It's the same with different vehicles. Let's say if you want to buy one, you just chuck it on and it'll work. It uses a 4G signal to send it, and as long as you've got a signal, it's going to work and you don't have to be paying for it, which is absolutely fantastic. What I like about Sizzapp over the previous tracker I used is that it's very much more user-oriented. You are in control of it completely. If you do have an alert, you can stay on top of the tracking, get in touch with the police, and you can follow the vehicle if it is being stolen. Previously, that tracker also They demand that you have a person come and install it. Unfortunately, Boris being such an old vehicle, a few years ago, it was mounted into the vehicle in the sort of wrong place, never had really good GPS signal, and I didn't know where it was, and it was also wired into a place where it basically just didn't work well, and also the wiring was not fantastic. I can imagine if you had a newer car, it just could go into an OBD port, or you can wire it into a newer place. I think that's probably best for that, but with this, you can just install it however you want, or you can get a professional to do it. One final difference is that with this, you get no extra fobs. Previously, I had 2 key rings, effectively, went on 2 sets of keys that correlated with the unit. That's one thing I would say is I didn't realize with this, but actually now I know the way it works. I prefer that I'm in control of it. Basically, anytime Boris became disconnected from the battery in a garage, you get a call. If there's any movement, you get a call from them, and you have to answer to tell them that it is safe, effectively. I guess that is an extra layer of protection, but I do prefer this, that it's all down to you, and you know where it is exactly, and there's not people looking at it the whole time. It's just for you to keep on top of, which is really nice. This also means that if there is any movement without the ignition on, you get a notification. You can turn that off in the app. There's a guarded mode. You can turn it off if you know you're going to be, I don't know, working on it, let's say in a garage, or moving it around quite a bit. You can turn that off and then it stops the notifications, but it is just coming to you. And as you are on top of your own vehicle, you've got the app to use. You can do pretty much anything in there. It's not just safety, it's also sort of enthusiast app as well. You can see the miles you've done, the journeys you've done. You can sort of customize it per trip. For example, the Scotland trip, I could look for the entire 2 weeks we went, and then I could screenshot that and share that if I wanted. There's lots of different things, eco modes, so many different features you can play with there. And if you are a vehicle enthusiast, bikes, cars, jet skis, boats, whatever, you can keep on top of that specific vehicle. It's named, and you can swap between the two really nice and easily, or however many vehicles you have, you can swap down between the two and name them and add a photo as well, which is really nice. If you're more into going faster, if you've got a bike or a sports car or something like that, Boris doesn't matter so much. You can track the speed and the altitude of where you're going as well. I don't know why you necessarily need the altitude, but it keeps on control of all that sort of data, and it's quite handy to look at, you know, here and there. If you're a bit of a nerd like me, you can sort of see where you've gone, and at any point you can spit out the fact of how high you are right there. And when you do look at the route you've done, it will show you like your top speed of that trip, and you can keep an eye on all that as well, which is quite nice and neat. One feature that I did learn myself from using Boris was a low battery alert. It always says the battery is quite low for some reason. Maybe you need to calibrate the battery for the device. Boris reads a 12 point something volts most of the time. You can see that in the top corner of the app, but also if you go into the battery area, it has a graph and it sort of shows it coming down over time or coming up as you're on the journey. One time I did get a low battery alert and thought, it always shows it's quite low, so never mind. Went over to get Boris after a few weeks of not using it, and it was flat completely. Jump starting it didn't work, charging it up didn't work, so we had to push it back, which was very difficult, and bump it. But if I had actually listened to that, I could have taken a proper jump back over, or just been aware of it and gone and sorted it early, because this was very early in the morning before an event, and it was a little bit nerve-wracking. So that low battery alert is really handy, so do listen to it if you do get one of these. Final 2 bits that are specific to Sizzapp is that you can sort of customize the way you're notified, be it call, text, or notification, and as per each thing, like movement or battery disconnection or crash detection, geofencing, you can also sort of put a ring around where you want it to be. You can customize any 3 of those and any one of those you want, text, notification, or call, which is really nice. And finally, I have been in contact with them through Instagram and emails, and the customer service team seem to be really friendly as well. It's always nice to know, especially in the past, I've not had the best experiences before, so really nice to know that you've got a real human being on the other end that can answer questions and know the business in and out. So I think that's pretty much it for me. That's the sort of key points I wanted to get across. Using it for the last 3 months has been really handy, and I've sort of seen the differences between the 2 trackers that I've used and now with Sizzapp, which is absolutely fantastic, and I'm really happy with the solution, and I'm glad that I'm in control of it and it's sort of left to me, and I haven't got future payments coming up. So next up, we're going to do the install on the Bonneville, so let's skip back a few days and move on to that. Right, so last but not least, as it's a multi-vehicle tracker, you can put it on pretty much anything you want as it's waterproof. We're going to take a look at the bike. Sorry about the mess on top here. The most simple way to do it will just be to plug it into the battery and then find a place on the bike. A similar way to how I did it on Boris would be to maybe extend the cable if you need to. I reckon on here we're going to not need to. On Boris, you might want to extend the cable on a bigger vehicle to sort of run it out to hide it, maybe have a bit more signal. But on this one, I don't think we're going to have to extend the cables. So it makes it a little bit easier on this, but the thing will be hiding it in a nice, neat spot. So you get an idea of the size. That's the unit, and that's the thickness. There's a lot sort of less space on a bike to try and hide it. I definitely think it is worth it. You could obviously just sit it there, and that would work just fine, but in the eventuality of anything happening to it, you know, how quickly thieves can get hold of these things, it's probably best to just give it a little bit of a sort of hiding they may not know at all. And on this Motobat battery, you've actually got two sets of terminals. You've got the positive, negative here, and then on the back you've got another set there. I've got the heated grips, I've got a quad lock charger, and now I'm gonna have the Sizzapp, so it does sort of help having that multiple set of them like that. So let's take a look at where we can position it, and that is going to be a little bit tricky, I think. Not enough space under here, unfortunately. So my advice would either be going under the seat like this, if you can hide it in here, maybe cover up the Sizzapp logo. If you've got nowhere else, and that's obviously a very easy location, maybe if you can lift the tank off and go on the side of the frame, potentially, I reckon that would be good. I can sort of feel a good amount of space up there. I tried the side covers. Maybe on your bike there might be sort of a different level of space behind there. And I also thought if you could go sort of underneath the sort of the airbox area or the mudguard, or if there's an area between the mudguard and the seat at the back, that would be my advice. I've actually found a spot between the throttle bodies that is really well hidden. I won't show you exactly where it is, but that's my advice. All I can say is that I would definitely try and hide it a little bit. And then maybe hide the cabling a bit, maybe bring it under and round and plug it in like that, just to sort of lengthen the sort of amount of time it would take to tamper with it and keep it going while it's being stolen, if it ever does. So there you go then, there's the sort of final wiring and hiding place. It's down in the centre of here, nice and neat, which is really good. The wires come up and around quite in a sort of OEM fashion. Obviously you've got the red and black ends here. You could cover those up if you wanted a little bit, but those are fine for me. I'm going to be plugging them in the back, and then I'm going to tuck it all down nice and neatly. So let's take a look at that. So as you can see, as I said, you've got two sets of terminals there and there. So you need a Phillips for these ones. I'm just going to loosen them off here nicely. There we go. Only got one thing on the back here so far, so this is a perfect place to put it. Underneath there. Not sure if you can quite see that. Sorry if you can't. So that's it all installed now. I did lose a piece of plastic there because there's a couple extra bits on the terminals on the battery, and I couldn't completely hide them, but I'm really happy with that. I'm happy with the unit hidden like that and the cabling sort of routed really nicely. That's fine. Obviously anyone can disconnect the battery, so we've done our best, and I think it would hinder things. I'm pretty confident that that's all gone well, unless it's plugged in the wrong way around in the actual unit, which I can change. So what I'm going to do next is plug in, put the seat back in and on, and then we can look at the actual unit and powering it on. So right, now the physical installation is done on the bike. The seat's back on, you wouldn't even know, which is absolutely fantastic, which I really like. And the unit, very well hidden. And even if you did see it, you might just think it's a part of the bike. So that is really fantastic as well. Here, I've got the instructions that came with the bike, and it says, download the Sizzapp app, which I've got already. You can get it on Play Store or on the App Store, depending on what phone you have. Connect the device to the app by writing the IMEI. That is on that piece of card that surrounds the actual units on this side. I won't show you that. I lost this with the Boris install. I had to take the unit apart, look inside on the chip, and it said it on there as well. Try and keep that. You've got it there as well, so that's a 15-digit code. After connecting the device to your vehicle, please ride it outside for a while to make sure everything works correctly. correctly, which is a good idea, definitely. I just wanted to show this sort of whole setup phase because obviously we did look into the features and benefits and subscription or lack of subscription on Boris earlier, but I just thought for anyone who's starting it all now, it's nice to have a instant initialization video. A little bit hard for me to say. So hopefully right here you have a sort of recording of my phone. We're going to have a look at the initialization phase. I did set this up a little while ago with Boris. It's been working absolutely brilliantly. But I'm going to be adding a new vehicle, which you might be doing if you've got a few as well. So we're going to go into settings, garage list, plus, right, IMEI. Right, I'm going to write that down. It's going to be hard for me to try and talk while writing down a number. I'm just gonna waffle randomly. It's really handy they actually do put this on this piece of paper. I'm annoyed that I didn't see that the first time really. We're gonna go Bonnie, got it. Model is Bonneville. Plate number is WJ63. Sport, Adventure Bobber, Cafe Racer, Cruiser, Naked Enduro, Cafe Racer. Not really a cafe racer, but I like that you can do that. Dashboard picture. I'm gonna go add picture. Okay, finally, there you go. Got a picture of the bike up there. Custom, add, there you go. Nice and easy. Let's see how we go with that. Just while I'm waiting for this to load up, I can see that I added Boris. It says on the 26th of March 24, so 4 months almost exactly. So it's a nice amount of time. I thought I would make sure to use the sort of unit for a while around Scotland, parking it up for a while, see if there's any battery drain, see what the battery monitoring is like, and get a real idea of the actual ins and outs of using it before bringing it to you. I did reach out to Sizzapp in the first place. They're not paying me to do any of this. I asked for a couple of units for the bike and for Boris, and they were very nice and were asking me to sort of share and spread the word of it. So this isn't paid, but I did get the units to test out, and I wouldn't put my name or word behind anything unless it's tested and it's something that actually I wanted in the first place, because I reached out to them. They didn't come to me. Still waiting for it to connect, so I'll be back in just a second. So I just played with the connections there, made sure it was plugged in the right way. You can only be one way, so it was the right way, but taking it out and back in again on the power while having the IMEI and did just sort of make it work. I think it was probably just connecting. So if you just wait a second, as you can see here on the app, it is showing it online. 12.37 volts on the battery, and yeah, online. At the moment it says no location data. Obviously we're in the house and hasn't been out at all yet, so what I'm going to be doing in an hour or so is taking it out for a little spin and hopefully connect there, and I'll basically leave it there, but I will show you a little bit of the data as we go out on the bike later. I didn't actually get any footage from my first ride out, so here is some from the other day, but as you can see by the screenshots on the right, it connected up in a few seconds of being outside and has stayed connected ever since. I could track my ride as I had done with Boris, and I'm really enjoying using it with the Bonneville and can't wait to be using it in the future as well. So I've been waffling on in this video quite a bit. I hope I've given you enough information to sort of seal the deal if you were thinking about one, or introduce you to the brand if you hadn't at all. It's nice to talk from previous experience with other trackers and a few different vehicles as well. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.